But the hardships continue. In 2007, her Aunt Sandra, who she was super close to, maybe even closer to Sandra than her own mother, she died of ovarian cancer. And Britney says that at the funeral, she cried harder than she ever had. Working felt unthinkable to me. A popular director called me during that time about a project he was working on. I have a role for you to play, he said. It's really a very dark role. I said no because I thought it wouldn't be emotionally healthy for me, but I wonder if just knowing about the part subconsciously, I went there in my head and imagined what it would be like to be her. This is very strange because even though she didn't take the role, she's later going to go on to use the existence of that role as an excuse for some future behavior. She agreed on the phone with that director she wasn't going to take on the role. And then she says here, I wonder if I just got it into my head that I was going to pretend to be that person for a while anyway. And then she does. So to be clear, she never played this role in any movie that you just haven't happened to see it. She never played this role, but she went ahead to go play it on in real life. She said, on the inside, I felt like a cloud of darkness for a long time. And on the outside, though, I tried to keep looking the way people wanted me to, keep acting the way they wanted me to, sweet and pretty all the time. Well, I don't know about sweet and pretty all the time at this point. I could certainly see that when she was younger. At this point in her career and in her public persona, maybe sweet. I could say that, she was, you rarely see her screaming at the paparazzi. In fact, she often is like, please, thank you, and, has some lovely manners. But, pretty, I don't think she can claim that she's, just this sweet little Southern thing all done up in a dress anymore. She looked as rough as she felt inside. Well, she says that the veneer had been so worn away by this point, there was just nothing left, and I was a raw nerve. She looked like it. She says, in February, after not getting to see the boys for weeks and weeks, completely beside myself with grief, I wanted to plead to see them. Kevin wouldn't let me in. I begged him. Jaden James was 5 months old, and Sean Preston was 17 months old. I imagined their not knowing where their mother was, wondering why she didn't want to be with them. I wanted to get a battering ram to get to them. I didn't know what to do. Kevin has your kids? One of your children is only 5 months old? That child needs its mother. 17 months old? That child needs its mother. I mean, how are you going to accept K-Fed telling you that you can't have your kids? I mean, that guy has not a leg to stand on. How in the world is Britney Spears at the mercy of K-Fed? Are you kidding me right now? Show him a burger, distract him for 2 seconds, grab your kids. I mean, we can figure out a way around this. The paparazzi watched it all happen. I can't describe the humiliation I felt. I was cornered. I was out being chased like always by these men waiting for me to do something that they could photograph. And so that night, I gave them some material. This is devastating. Okay, so remember, she says that the reason she's going to do the following things is because she was in such a tizzy over not being able to get to her kids. I get that. I think that as a mother, any mother out there who's listening can understand the psychosis that it would create in you to not be able to get to your kids and to feel that the person that you had trusted and actually had those kids with was being so cruel as to deny you time with them. So, betrayal from the dad, the loss of the kids, the emotional place you would be in would be out of this world crazy. So I get what she's saying as far as why she does this next thing. She says, I went into a hair salon and I took the clippers and I shaved off my hair. Everyone thought it was hilarious. Look how crazy she is. And even my parents acted embarrassed by me. But nobody seemed to understand that I was simply out of my mind with grief. My children had been taken away from me. With my head shaved, everyone was scared of me, even my mom. No one would talk to me anymore because I was too ugly. My long hair had been a big part of what people liked. I knew that. I knew a lot of guys thought long hair was hot. Shaving your head was a way of saying to the world, F you. You want me to be pretty for you? F you. You want me to be a good girl? F you. You want me to be your dream girl? F you. I'd been the good girl for years. I'd smiled politely while TV hosts leered at my breasts, while American parents said I was destroying their children by wearing a crop top, while executives patted my hand condescendingly and second-guessed my career choices, even though I'd sold millions of records, Well, my family acted like I was evil, and I was tired of it. At the end of the day, I didn't care. All I wanted to do was to see my boys. It made me sick thinking about the hours, the days, the weeks I'd missed with them. My most special moments in life were taking naps with my children. That was the closest I've ever felt to God, taking naps with my precious babies, smelling their hair and holding their tiny hands. She finishes this chapter by saying, I became incredibly angry. I think a lot of other women understand this. A friend of mine once said, if someone took my baby away from me, I would have done a lot more than get a haircut. I would have burned the city to the ground. Yeah, friend who said that, yes, I agree. I have no other commentary here except to say that I'm aghast that her family would look on at such a public meltdown and react with embarrassment rather than compassion. Can you even imagine anybody in your life that you care deeply about exposing the pain of their heart in such a raw way and then just being like, oh, you're scary and ugly now. Ew, yuck, no. Go over there. Please get some wigs. I mean, the truth is, Brittany's face when she's doing that is scary. She's got this grin on her face that is almost like she's out of control of what she's doing. Like there's something almost maniacal about it, like something has taken over her that's like happy at seeing her suffer. It's like the smile on her face doesn't feel like it belongs to her own face. It feels like it is a force within her that is getting her to do something that is hurting her. And it's happy. Very frightening pictures. And if that's what her family was reacting to, this force that seemed like it wasn't her, then I can imagine being scared by that. But come on, swallow your fear and hold your daughter. Make sure she's okay. Nobody would do those things just, for fits and giggles. Things aren't okay. And if you have missed it this far, maybe you could clue in now. But again, the whole, oh, it's not pretty anymore, Brittany. That's not pretty. That's ugly. That's ugly behavior and you look ugly. And now I'm embarrassed. This ain't how we do. This ain't how we do. And Mom was going to need to go get you some wigs because my baby's not going to walk around like that. That's hideous. And so it's like, can she do nothing? Is nothing going to be loud enough for people to hear her scream of pain? Apparently not. Everyone's got cotton in their ears or something because no one can hear her screaming. Okay, chapter 26. So now this next chapter is, what are we going to do now? She shaved her head. The whole world is either laughing at her or afraid of her. And she's still without her kids. So the whole act was unhelpful to her in every way. She says, flailing those weeks without my children, I lost it over and over again. I didn't even really know how to take care of myself. Because of the divorce, I'd had to move out of the home I loved and was living in a random English-style cottage in Beverly Hills. The paparazzi were circling extra excitedly now, like sharks when there's blood in the water. When I first shaved my head, it felt almost religious. I was living on a level of pure being. For when I wanted to go into the world, though, I bought 7 wigs, all short bobs. But if I couldn't see my sons, I didn't want to see anybody. It's a little odd that she needed to buy 7 wigs that all look the same. I don't know, interesting. But again, I don't think we can look at anything she does right now and be like, let's parse out some sense in that. I don't think there's much sense to be had. A few days after I shaved my head, my cousin Allie drove me back to Kevin's. At least I thought there'd be no paparazzi to see it this time, but apparently someone tipped one of the photographers off and he called his buddy. When we stopped at a gas station, the pair of them came for me. They kept taking flash pictures with a giant camera videotaping me through the window as I sat broken-hearted in the passenger seat waiting for Allie to get back. One of them was asking questions. How you doing? You doing okay? I'm concerned about you. Okay, if you're concerned about me, back up and drive that way then. We drove on to Kevin's. The 2 paparazzi kept following us, taking pictures as I was once again denied entry to Kevin's. Turned away, trying to see my own children. Then camp out, Brittany. Camp out. Don't leave that doorstep until you get what you want. Don't turn and go away. No is not okay. You can't accept no at this point. No. After we left, Allie pulled over so we could figure out what to do next. The videographer was right there at my window again. What I'm going to do, Brittany, all I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a few questions, one of them said with this mean look on his face. He wasn't asking if he could. He was telling me what he was going to do. And then I'm going to leave you alone. Oh, are those the conditions of this relationship, you stranger? I mean, again, Brittany, say no. Don't shave your head. Just say no. How she was so colossally failed. In an industry that's going to push you and push you and push you and push you, they should have spent some good, hard cash on teaching this girl some coping skills with pushy people. They should have given her all the tools. Like, people are going to try to push you. People are going to try to make you do things you don't want to do. Okay, this is how you say no. This is how you negotiate for yourself. Why was that the skipped part of her education? And so now she has zero skills. Kevin says no. She's like, oh, okay. And she has to just wander away. No, you stand up for yourself. He cannot tell you can't see those kids. What court has said he can have the kids now all the time? No court has said that. You don't have to accept it. And now this photographer coming up, this videographer being like, well, what I'm going to do now is, no, you're not. Get out of here. Drive on, Allie. Why are you even talking to this person? Okay, well, then Allie starts begging with these people. No, Allie, okay. This isn't the time to start trying to figure out how to negotiate. Gun it. Drive on. Who are these people? Oh, can you guys not bother us, right? Allie, you don't ask these people politely, can you please not? Do you think that they follow the rules of polite society? They're literally harassing you. They're not going to suddenly be like, oh, a light bulb moment. Let me treat this person with dignity and respect. Okay, well, Allie's trying to be polite. Those people don't care. Then they just wouldn't stop. They wouldn't stop bothering her. And now Brittany's screaming. And they liked that. She said, when I reacted, they liked that. One guy wouldn't go away until he got what he wanted. He kept smirking, asking me the same terrible questions over and over, trying to get me to react. There was so much ugliness in his voice, such a lack of humanity. This was one of the worst moments of my whole life, and he kept after me. Couldn't he treat me like a human being? Couldn't he back off? But he wouldn't. He just kept coming. He kept asking me over and over again how I felt not being able to see my kids. And he was smiling. Finally, I snapped. I grabbed the only thing within reach, a green umbrella, and I jumped out of the car. I wasn't going to hit him, because even at my worst, I'm not that kind of a person. I hit the next closest thing, which was his car. Pathetic, really. An umbrella. You can't even do any damage with an umbrella. It was a desperate move by a desperate person. It's so sad. It's so sad, but I'm so, at the same time, equally frustrated. Allie, why are you... Okay, you pulled over to figure out what to do next. Okay, well, why don't you just drive home and figure it out there? Do you know what I almost want to say? And, this is just supposition. I'm not really saying that this is true, but let's just consider for a moment. Allie says she's going to drive Brittany over to Kevin's house. Brittany thinks no one will know about it. Suddenly, a photographer shows up, not one but two, and they follow her all the way to Kevin's house, where they proceed to take pictures of her at her lowest moment. Again, being denied entry to see her children by security that used to work at her house, and by her husband, who she thought was going to love her forever and infinity. Then Allie says, let's get in the car. She drives down the road a bit, and then they decide to pull over on the side of the road, where the photographers, get out of their car and begin to harass Brittany in her vehicle. At no point does Allie decide to gun it. And then Allie decides to extend the experience by having a conversation with them. And then, when Brittany is continually being bombarded with questions, Allie continues to sit there. And when Brittany grabs an umbrella and proceeds to about to jump out of the car, Allie does not step in. Could one surmise that perhaps Allie was in league with these photographers? Was there some sort of kickback that was promised to Allie if she would cooperate and get them a good photo? Because this behavior to me is whack. All right? Who would sit there with a loved one who is just dripping with grief, anxiety, fear, pain, and betrayal, and set them in a situation like this if there was nothing in it for them? Unless they were just incredibly cruel and unkind and just liked to watch the pain of a loved one. I mean, I don't understand why Allie is participating in this experience like this. Big question mark there, Allie. But in typical Britney fashion, she's so overcome by shame at what she did that she actually sends an apology note to the photo agency from whence these maniacs came. And she says to them, I'm really sorry that I acted this way. And then she uses that movie role as an excuse for why she did. She says that she mentioned in the note that I'd been in the running for a dark film role, which was true, and that I wasn't quite myself, which was also true. Now, that's, again, the excuse-making machine goes full blast with this one because she had not accepted the role. She cannot use that role as a reason for her behavior. And she should have said in the note why she acted that way had nothing to do with this movie role, that she didn't actually have, which makes her mental health even more in question. If she told us the truth, the reason she was really outside of her mind with grief was because she was so torn up about not being able to see her kids, that would have humanized the experience. But to say things like, I was in the running for a movie role that was kind of dark and I kind of like took on that personality, even though I never even came near to getting the script or being part of that production, but I'm in a weird space. Like that doesn't ring as anything that people can relate to. That sounds crazy, quite frankly. But it doesn't sound crazy to say, I am tired of being relentlessly harassed and all I want to see is my kids and you people need to leave me alone. Who would that not resonate with? Anyway, she says later that paparazzo would say in an interview for a documentary about me that was not a good night for her, but it was a good night for us because we got the money shot. Can you imagine being such a predator that would be like something you would say and be proud of your behavior? Insanity. Britney oddly ends this chapter now by mentioning her now husband, Hissam, and she says that he thinks that the whole shaving her head thing was awesome because he said beautiful girls can shave their heads. It's a vibe, he says. It's a choice not to play into ideals of conventional beauty. And he tried to make her feel better about it because he feels bad about how much pain it still causes her. That's really nice, Hissam, but also she didn't do it as a choice to be beautiful. She did it out of a sheer desperation. And Hissam seems like he just sort of feeds her what she wants to hear. But maybe that's what she needs right now.